Now, England's Patient Safety Commissioner is demanding answers from Number 10 over avoidable harm compensation. Many women who had vaginal mesh implants between 1998 and 2020 have needed major surgery as a result. And sodium valproate, which was used during pregnancies in the 1970s, had also been found to cause birth defects.
In 2024, the Hughes report called for a two-stage redress scheme for patients affected, calculated to cost £500 million just for the initial payments. But 2 years on, there's still no full response to those initial recommendations. We're joined now by Kath, Sansom, founder of the campaign group Sling the Mesh. Also here with us is our home editor, Jason Farrell. Good morning to you both. Kath, we'll come to you in just a moment, but Jason, you've been following this whole story so closely. Just set it up for us. What are we referring to here?
Well, there was a review, it was called by Theresa May, which came back in 2020, which basically was the initial review into 3 products. There was another one called Primidos, which caused malformations to babies in the womb by women who had used a pregnancy test drug. And of these 3 products, then Henrietta Hughes chose to look at 2 of them and set up redress schemes because the government told her not to look at Primidos because they were in a legal battle with them at the time. I think that was a mistake. She should have included all 3. But she has put these forward, these 2 proposals. Of course, we've had 4 prime ministers since the Cumberledge Review, and we've had a change of administration since Henrietta Hughes's put forward her proposals. But her proposals were suggesting that there should be a redress scheme for the victims of mesh and the victims of valproate. And there should be two stages, an initial stage, a bit like the infected blood scandal, where you'd have an initial payment and then you'd work out the needs of various patients and then you'd have a second payment. It would cost a lot of money. That's the problem. And that is why it is sitting in the long grass and nobody wants to deal with it.
And can we just talk about the impact it's having on victims?
I mean, devastating. I'll tell you what, I'll leave it to Kath Sampson to talk about vaginal mesh, but for the children who, and particularly with, I think of Primidos, these are people who are now quite elderly mothers who are still bringing up disabled children, still looking after them in their homes. Some have deformed limbs, some have heart problems, all sorts of difficulties. And with valproate, learning difficulties is a particular problem. And a lot of children literally have to be looked after into their old age. And the parents are thinking, well, who's going to look after them when we die? And that's the really devastating thing for these families. So they do need some kind of recognition. There's no doubt about that. And everyone who's looked at this properly has come to that conclusion. It's just, what will happen. I think the one thing I would say is if I were to pick the top 5 most vocal MPs on this subject, one of them is Andy Burnham.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, let's talk to Kath now, shall we, about the impact specifically of vaginal mesh. What impact is it having on women's lives?
Well, let's make it very clear. This was a surgery that was not for a life-threatening condition. It was for prolapse or bladder leaks, generally caused by childbirth. And we were all assured it was a gold standard low-risk operation. None of us were warned of the risks. And what has happened in the group is it's absolutely devastating. We have women who have had to have bowels and bladders removed. 1 in 4 of them need some kind of mobility aid, like a stick. A lot of them are super embarrassed that they need a stick where their legs shake, where they've had nerve damage. So they have like the foldable sticks that they can pop in a handbag. Some need walking frames, mobility scooters. 7 in 10 have lost the ability to have sexual intercourse with their partners. So marriages have broken down. They've had to break into savings and pensions to try and pay for private mesh removal. Some of them have had to sell homes, move in with elderly parents. They're not little complications. They're absolutely devastating. And every day on the support group, I might add, there's almost 13,000 members now. It began with 11 years ago. And some days I look at it and I feel like it's a dystopian nightmare, but this is the reality of what women are living with every day.
Kath, we had Professor Hughes on earlier, and obviously it's been 2 years since her report. She said she hasn't had a formal response to the recommendation, clearly no payments, which perhaps is the more important thing. Often we then look at the current state of politics and think there's going to be another change in government. Will that delay things even more? Is that how you're feeling? Or, kind of picking up on Jason's point, are you optimistic that we might see more action under Andy Burnham?
Well, as a campaigner, and as I'm sure all advocates out there, it's ever so difficult when we have a change of government, change of health secretary, change of prime ministers. So the fact that we're going to have the 5th prime minister since Baroness Cumberledge published her 2020 first Do No Harm report, it's another change. However, we are feeling confident that Andy Burnham has shown his support for the women and families affected by all 3 of these scandals. And we're hopeful, please let this be the Prime Minister that actually gets the job done and sorts compensation out for the women and families who desperately need it.
Can I ask a bit of a wider question about the way that we tackle women's health issues? Because look, we've done a lot of reporting on childbirth, right? And babies dying in childbirth, mums dying in childbirth, the fact that women aren't being listened to. Do you think we have a problem in our health service about taking women's health needs seriously?
Oh, 100%. I've been talking about medical misogyny in healthcare for 11 years. And interestingly, even as recently as last year, I was interviewed and the news channel asked me, could I not use the term medical misogyny? Because they were a bit worried that it might look hysterical or maybe libelous somehow. And then here we are in 2026. The government, thankfully, put in their revised women's health strategy that medical misogyny is an issue. And I can guarantee you it absolutely has been part of the mesh scandal story, where women were belittled, they were denied the help they needed. I've got a whole folder full of stories that women have posted to the page that they're happy for me to share, of things like one woman was patted on the knee and told by a surgeon, well, at least you haven't got cancer. Another was told, well, I think it's all in your head and just go home and relax a bit more. And 10 weeks later, it was found when she went private, she'd got mesh slicing through her bladder and into her bowels. You know, awful stories where women are told that maybe you need psychiatric support or you need to stop going online because I think you're just like getting yourself anxious over nothing. And terrible, debilitating pain that women are in and yet not taken seriously.
Kath, thanks so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And Jason, just to come with a final question, if everything that's been suggested in these reports was done, how much would it cost?
Billions.
Is it going to be an easy thing for
Well, yeah,
it
would cost billions. But we think infected blood costs 12 billion. You know, we're talking around that level. I mean, with Primodos, not so much because few of them are left alive. But it would be a significant financial outlay. Just to pick up on the medical misogyny point as well, it is that. And that's why Theresa May did the report. She recognised it and she said, look, there's this problem here and it's a patriarchal system which literally said with Valparate, let's not tell these women what the dangers are of this because they might get a bit hysterical if they find out. So it's not unreasonable to say that it's medical misogyny. However, have you noticed there's quite a lot of strong women campaigners out there, be it from Hillsborough to Primodos to someone like Kath Sansom, and they just keep knocking at the door. And I think possibly, you know, within the next couple of years, hopefully they will get there. Yeah,
fingers crossed. Jason, thanks very much. And thanks also for the, you know, kind of pioneering investigative journalism you've done on Primodos in particular as well.
Thank you. Let's have a look at the weather.